again. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Rory, Sauter, and the News. I'm Rory Sauter, your host. I hope you all are doing very well. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I hope you have exciting weekend plans. Been a big week in the media, a lot to address, a lot of notable names in attendance tonight. And we are back. Rory Sauter and the News coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. I do want to introduce my next guest. He's living a hell of a life, amazing resume. I love all the patriotic things that he's doing. We have Tom Trento with us. Tom, first time on. It is an honor to have you here. You've had quite the journey. You've had so many different accomplishments. First and foremost, tell everybody about yourself. Give us a bio, a background, how it all started for you.
All right. Well, good to be here, Rory. You do a great job, and I was following your previous guest, sharp guy for sure.
Thank you.
Thank
you for being here, by the way, my friend. It's an honor to have you.
No problem. We're all on the same one team, one fight. That's our motto.
Absolutely.
So one team, one fight. I grew up in New Jersey, Italian family, and a belief in God. And I wanted to go into the FBI to enforce the law. And in college, in a crazy college in New Jersey, I was a little bit of a lunatic. I got involved against my will in this Bible study, became a born-again Christian. And that redirected my life from enforcing God's law to studying God's law. So I went on to Bible school and seminary and studied philosophy and all this stuff. And for 40 years, I've been fighting the battles as a Christian activist primarily. And I had a strong background in the Islamic theology as a result of studying, obviously. And then in 2001, when I watched the towers go down that I used to watch go up, I lived right across the Hudson River from the Trade Center. I knew the world changed, and shortly after, we started an organization in Florida, which today is known as the United West, to help the state of Florida defend itself against Islamic jihad and Marxist infiltration. That was the whole idea. And against that background, we spent a lot of time in Israel. We took our team of 10, 20, 30, 40 people, went to Israel and studied anti-terrorism and terrorism issues in Israel with Israeli experts. When COVID hit 2020, Israel shut down. So we got our team together and we said, we have a porous southern border. Let's go down there. And we went down there. We embedded with Sheriff Daniels. He's a good guest for you to get sometime in Arizona, Cochise County. Yeah. We spent a week with him.
I've had Sheriff Joe's a good longtime family friend of mine. He's been on my show several times, and I used to work on many of his campaigns. And when I lived in Arizona for 9 years, I would be at his office probably 3 times a week, and I still talk to him a couple times a week. And when I'm in town, because I'm only 4 hours away, I always visit him. But I'll tell you, there's no other patriot as tough on the border and as just he is one of a kind. There will never be another Sheriff Joe. I mean, what he's done is beyond miraculous. They don't make guys like that anymore. And I always said he was Trump before Trump.
No, very, very good point. Pink underwear. You're going to eat a bologna sandwich, and you're staying out in tents. I mean, amazing guy.
Oh yeah, and you know what, people, like I always saw things, all these things on the news that were so untrue about him, and I always tell people, just go meet the guy, and you'll love him. You'll love him. You'll have conversations with him for hours because he's the most authentic, genuine, warm-hearted dude I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, and he cares more about this country than anybody I've ever seen.
No,
And he's one of the very few that doesn't go and take, money from all these donors. I mean, he does it the real, true way with amazing integrity.
he is a wonderful guy on so many different levels. But you said you wanted people to go meet him. That's what we did with our movie. And when we were down there, we said, if all of America can come down here, see what the hell's going on, then people will start understanding the importance of the border. You're in Palm Springs; you're not that far from it. So we decided to do our counterterrorism work on the border because the jihadis are coming across, obviously, the southern border. Mm-hmm. And in October of 2021, we got hooked up with Tom Homan, former ICE director. You're familiar with him,
yep.
Right?
Yeah. I interviewed him about a year and a half ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We met him. We did a presentation with him. And I said, Tom, you just wrote a book. Your story needs to be told. But he's such a humble guy. He rose from a beat cop to the top of ICE, which is amazing. 6 presidents he served. Obama gave him an award. Trump gave him an award. Trump and Homan sealed the border and saved lives in 17 and 18. Right. So he said, all right, I don't think my life is anything. I said, your life is amazing. So we got our team together. We brought a good friend of ours, Chris Burgard, an amazing movie director in. And we put the first episode, Death County and the River of Broken Dreams, together. And we're releasing it now. 3 weeks ago, we had a premiere at the U.S. Congress. Congressman Troy Nehls sponsored it. Very successful. Now we're showing it on our website for free, Death County and the River of Broken Dreams, on defendtheborder.org. That's the short story. Then I'll give you all the crazy stuff too.
Wow, man. So you were talking about Sheriff Brown. And I cut you off with talking about Arpaio, but you were saying you went down there and met with Sheriff Brown in Arizona?
No, we met with Daniels, Sheriff Mark Daniels in Cochise County.
Okay.
And they let us in bed with their department and go places, work with them. And they have they have 83 miles on the border. And they have an amazing camera system and it's public now, where they put these cameras all over the rat trails. But it's not a camera standing there where you can wave to it. It's a tree trunk, but there's a camera inside the tree trunk. It's an owl in the tree, but it's not an owl. It's a camera. Right. And when they're triggered, they're the hunting cameras. Yeah. When they're triggered, the deputies look on their iPhone and they go, got 6 of them coming across. They're carrying dope with them. Look at that. Okay, we'll intersect them an hour and a half from now at Sector 4. What an amazing operation they have. And Daniels will tell you, hey, we're doing what the federal government should be doing. So we decided to have a 2-year campaign that used multimedia, movies, TV, social media, what we're doing now, to mobilize tens of thousands of people to get engaged in the election process for 24 and to bring in pro-border security, patriot politicians in 24. Otherwise, Rory, this country is done. 5 million people in illegally since Biden became
7.
president.
It's 7. I heard a report that it was 7.
It'll be 7 in 24 when he's finished. The closer figure is 5. 5, 7.
But isn't 5 what we know of, though? I mean, that's just what they've counted, but who really knows, right?
5 is what we know. And there's that term, you've heard that term, got aways. Pretty cool term, the people that got away, that didn't get caught. What the heck number is that? Who knows? Easily another 1 million or 2.
Yeah, and here in California, if they come across the border, they can get unemployment for $300 a week, even if they've never had a job here, plus health benefits, plus food benefits. They're getting treated better than American citizens in many aspects.
I live in Florida now. I'm coming to you from Florida.
Did you
I
used to live in California?
No, I worked there. In fact, I ran a couple of congressional races there years ago.
For who? For
Um,
which candidates?
it was District 3 up north. Tim LaFever was running. He ran against Vic Fazio, 1994, in Newt Gingrich's contract with America. Remember that?
Oh, okay.
And Vic Fazio was the Democrat incumbent, 17 years. We almost knocked him off. But that's when California, I think Pete Wilson was the governor. That's when California really had a conservative element to it. What's happened to you guys?
It's really sad, man. It really is a tragedy because, I mean, there's more conservatives in this state than people think. But we all know this is one of the most rigged election states, if not the most rigged election state. And it's become so just a connected circle. I mean, these politicians have their own clique, and Newsom, has passed all these laws, and all these higher ups have passed these laws, that are so bad that I don't know if a Republican could ever get back into office as governor. And even, we had Arnold, but was he a real Republican? No, he was kind of.
Yeah.
But not what California needed. I mean,
Not a Reagan.
Not a Reagan, no. And this is what I'm saying, and I've said this many times. We need to have somebody step up to the plate that is somewhat notable, has some recognizable background, and if it has to be a celebrity that's extremely articulate, then so be it. Because we're in a state where that is that kind of scenario I could see happening. Because, I feel like the days of the large followings and the people are just sick of politicians. They want outsiders, and we're seeing The Rock talk about running. We're seeing Matthew McConaughey talk about running for president. We've heard Kanye West talk about running for president. I've heard there's rumors about this, but I don't know if it's true. And I would love if this actually did happen. Tom Cruise eventually has talked about that he wants to be in political office, which, I mean, he has the biggest fan base in Hollywood. If he was to run for president, I have told many people, and I think this is fair to say, he would get more bipartisan votes, I think, than any candidate in history. I could see Tom Cruise being president if he really, really wanted to. And if that talk is actually true with political endeavors, because I think he's too good to just run for governor of California. Although I do, like I said, think we need somebody notable, but just on a little lower scale than Tom Cruise to run for governor. But it's interesting. It's interesting where we're at in society. You have all these outsiders that really want to replace these politicians.
Yeah, and part of that is, and I'll bring it back to the border. Part of that is there's been a cultural shift over the past 20, 30 years.
And I think Trump opened that door, by the way, being on the reality shows and being a successful businessman and not having any prior experience to politics. I really think that opened a door for so many people, because on both sides of the aisle, we saw more people running than ever,
He definitely opened the door for the outsider.
No, and that's what I mean. On both sides of the aisle, we've been seeing more outsiders than ever before running.
But the cultural shift I'm talking about is a philosophical, theological component where historically the majority of Americans had a belief in God, that something was out there, something was real, and we're accountable, and our laws should reflect that. Over the past 30, 40 years, we've drifted away. Fewer people go to church, fewer people believe in God, fewer people believe in the Ten Commandments. So we have de facto two countries, and it's the Republican that still maintains a God-centered, God-family country, and the neo-Marxist Democrats have replaced the state with God. Well, as a result of that, the border becomes, here's a very important point for your viewers. Karl Marx, part of the essence of communism, Marxism, was no ownership of private property. Well, Marx argued very effectively that you shouldn't own private property, and a country, therefore, can't own private property. You can't have borders if you want to understand what a true morality is. So he argued for no borders, an open society. And the Democrats now in power, they don't even understand what I'm talking about, but they're articulating a neo-Marxist view of a country can't own its borders. And you've heard this so much from the globalists. And the Biden administration has bought this hook, line, and sinker, and they're propagating just, I'll hit you with one issue. They're propagating the Biden administration, the largest child trafficking disaster in the history of the world right now taking place in the United States. The drug cartels used to make about $1 billion a year selling coke. And, you sell a kilo and it gets snorted up, it's gone. They're making right now, $1 billion a month, taking little girls and little boys and selling them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, recurring revenue propagated by this administration. It's a disaster. It's sad. It's horrible.
Right. No, I agree with you. And I want to ask you a bunch of things. I'm reading about your background. Trent, you're a highly skilled debater and dynamic public speaker with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. And you are also one of the co-authors of Sharia, The Threat to America. You've appeared on several media outlets and talk shows as a subject matter expert, and was awarded the Carnegie Hero Medal Award for saving a man from a burning car. Holy shit, man. That's incredible.
I was a little younger.
Talk about that for a second, because the audience probably wants to hear that. That's one of the most heroic things anybody could ever do.
It was September 11th, actually. I think it was 1983.
Wow, out of all days, September 11th.
I know.
Out of all days.
I only realized that a couple of years ago because I stay in touch with the Carnegie Foundation.
Yeah.
I mentor, and I give awards to the new individuals who get the Carnegie Award.
Right.
So, and I looked at I forgot when it was. I looked at the date. It was September 11th. I went, I was driving home, and it's interesting. I was going to go this way or that way. At the last minute, I said, let me go this way. And it was rainy in Colorado. I was in school at Colorado in Denver Seminary. And I had an automobile racing background. So I'm driving carefully in the rain. And this car, 3-lane highway, this car passes me. And I said, that's not going to work in this weather. And the next thing I see, the car slides out of control, jumps the median, goes on the other side, and I just saw a big explosion, big flame. So, this is stuff that they write books about this stuff. I didn't think, I think I'll be a hero. You just react. I pulled over. I ran across the street, and there were, I could see the picture now. There were 20, 30 people. The cars had stopped, and they were all in a semicircle looking at the burning car. And I run over to it, and there's a guy slumped over, and the back of the car is starting to burn to get inside. And I'm screaming at the people, give me something. And I'm punching the window, and it's wet, and couldn't get in. And it all happened in 30 seconds. And I didn't, you don't plan this stuff. I remember screaming at the people. They were frozen. But I ran back to the group about 20, 30 feet away and just ran as fast as I could and jumped up with my 2 feet and went through the side window, driver's window of the AMC Pacer, very big window. Went into the car, fell down, the car flames all over, and I got cut up and went in and got burnt up a little bit and pulled him out, and that was it. And, So if I guess if I didn't do it, the guy I would have burned to death because nobody was doing anything. So they do an investigation and you get an award. And when you die, they put a thing on your grave.
Wow, man. I
So,
mean, in that moment, though, I mean, obviously you were terrified, but you knew you had to do something.
I just saw this kid unconscious on the steering wheel, and I'm right here, 6 inches away, and I'm pounding the window,
Right.
and I'm going, I have to do something. I have to do something. Yeah, I didn't know if kicking the thing would work, but it worked. So anyway, so
That's,
that's that little story.
wow, man. And talk about the public speaking. You do a lot of public speaking.
I grew up in a Sicilian family having to argue all the time. You argue for food, you argue for this. You're always fighting, arguing, and and God gave me an ability to see things analytically.
Yeah.
So I went to school and studied stuff to perfect that, and then I purposely went into an area where I did a lot of debating, still do, but in a very formal setting at universities and TV and all that. And I've debated everybody on all the mostly cultural, either conservative politics or conservative theology issues with all the nutcases and the experts. And if you know what you're doing and you know how to do it, you can't lose. And by that I mean, I learned very quickly because I was sort of a hotshot, and I would win the debate, but I'd lose the audience. And then I said, this is no good. I'm not here to beat this guy up. I'm here to help those people see the truth. And I modified my approach to not win. If you're a boxer and you're watching the guy get beat up, you start going for the underdog. So I backed off the opponents a little bit and tried to have the audience learn what I was trying to teach as opposed to win a debate. And I know how to do that stuff.
That's a skill. That's a skill in itself, and it seems like that one of those things comes naturally. Either you're born with being a debater or you're not. Because we see politicians out there who can be good politicians, but they're the shittiest debaters on earth. They're horrible. They're awful.
Horrible.
They make you want to go to sleep.
Yep. No, it's something you're born with, but once again, I mean, you could be born with an athletic body, but you got to be in the gym. You got to be running. You got to be doing sit-ups. You got to be doing this stuff. So I studied. I threw myself into very difficult situations, and you get to a point, never where you're complacent. I'm always very well prepared, but where you're comfortable and you're confident because you've heard everything. I've heard every question, and let's take the border, for instance. You conservatives, I'm a Trump supporting conservative Republican. You Republicans, you're racist, and my skin is browner than most people. I have Arab blood in me, I have Jewish blood in me, but I'm dominant Italian.
Right.
So what am I? I'm not a racist. I'm concerned about people, but all those arguments that pop up, they can be answered. But the problem, Rory, because you're dealing with the media, the other side has lost their ability and their desire to think logically. So whatever you say, they call you names and they tell you to get out of here. And it's very difficult to persuade them of anything because they function emotionally as opposed to analytically.
And I got to ask, Tom, when you looked at the wall, when you went down to the wall, I know they stopped construction on it, but how much of the wall did actually got done? Because I see stories, but I don't believe what I read anymore. I don't believe. I got to hear it from somebody that's actually been there.
Yeah, there's approximately 2,000 miles from California to Texas, and something like 1,500 requires fencing, borders, various systems. The other 400 or 500 has natural geographic prohibitions for people coming across. You got to climb a mountain and you could have drones flying. So of the 1,500 miles, I think the last figure was about half of that, 700-800 miles. Trump did 400 or 500 miles. And a lot of the stuff that's up there is ragtag. You can push it over with your finger, but the stuff Trump put up, it goes up almost 30 feet, and then has the metal and then barbed wire on the top of it. And every piece of it, as we learn in Israel, is designed to prohibit people coming over it. And but the money, and this isn't a Ukraine subject, but the money we're blowing and throwing to Ukraine could have put the border wall up 10 times,
Right.
and this country would be safer than what we're doing just spending money over there right now.
Yeah, and the whole project of we build the border wall. Do you remember those guys? The guy that went to jail. What's his name?
Steve Bannon.
No, yeah, Steve Bannon was involved, but the guy that went to jail, I forget his name. The amputee veteran. Yeah, but he's going to jail for 3 to 4 years, and I knew from day one that whole thing was a scam. I mean, didn't you?
Yeah.
And even they contacted Arpaio, and Arpaio said he would not get involved. And they contacted numerous high, notable name people, and a lot of people said, no, we're not getting involved. But Bannon got involved, and then Bannon got pardoned for it.
But what it says is it says that there's such a pent-up demand by Americans to do something that a guy can come along and say, I'll build a wall, send me some money, I'll go down there, I'll build it on federal property or private property. And
then they fail to mention all these government regulations that they have to go through, all the loopholes that can take years. It's not as easy as that. And I said that from day one. These people are out of their minds. They're just trying to brainwash and manipulate the Trump crowd.
Well, here's what we need. I'd love to spend an hour with you. We got to do it sometime. Yeah. And we can talk about a lot of different things.
Oh, absolutely.
Our issue right now, the main thing, we want everybody to go see the movie Death County and the River of Broken Dreams on our website, defendtheborder.org. And essentially, Rory, we have a man, Tom Homan. We have the first episode of 10. It's done, an investigative report exposing Biden's planned disastrous policies. And we're creating a movement mobilizing people. We exist on donations. We're a 501c3. We're looking for small donations, and we're also looking for people that want to help fund the next one. We'll take them with us. That's a call I got to take. We'll take them with us on the border and to film for 2, 3, 4 weeks. So defendtheborder.org. I apologize. I got to get going, but you're a great guy to sit down and talk to.
And the biggest takeaway you want from this film, what do you want people to get from this? What do you like? Explain that real quick before you go.
They see that tactically the border is an issue that can help get people elected in November 2024 to return America to constitutional sanity.
Oh, I hear you. And tell everybody where they can find you, where they can get involved.
Defendtheborder.org, defendtheborder.org. Go there.
And last thing before you go, to conclude, who else besides Tom Homan are you getting on board? Are you getting a lot of other notable individuals?
Oh, yeah. Victor Avila, like I said, Chris Burgard, our director, Sarah Carter. It goes on and on and on. We got a whole group of people.
Wow, man. Tom, we're going to have to talk a lot more soon, my friend. God bless you. Keep up the great work. I really love this conversation. And like I said, we'll talk soon. Cheers, my friend.
Thanks, Rory. Take care.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back. Stay with us.